All right, everyone. Well, welcome to our Instagram 101. And I have had the pleasure of working with Kristen for a little over 3 months. So it's been fun. I am probably like many of you. I know Facebook. I understand Facebook. I have results on Facebook. And then everybody's talking about this new thing called Instagram. And I'm like, yeah, that's for the young people. I'm not, like, I don't know what I'm doing over there. And then I would see just random things. Then I seen perfect things. I'm like, what do I need to do over here? So I needed to find an outside source of knowledge that had success, that was able to teach success and show me the how, the why, and understand it. Because many of you who know me know I don't just like to have somebody, do something. I want to understand it. I want to know what's going on, how this works, and, what's the reason behind it. So I am super excited to ask Kristen some questions for you all. I know you guys have asked some questions on that webinar registration form. The reason I did that was just to know where's everyone's pulse on knowing what they do or don't know about Instagram, so we can definitely deliver those answers to you versus, being too low level or too high level. We want to make sure everybody has a good feeling leaving this 101 Instagram webinar to go and take some action steps. And so, Kristen, I'd love for you just to share who you are, the success, why would people listen to you, number one? Like, what do you know? Like, what have you done on Instagram? So, everybody, this is Kristen.
That's a really great question. I always ask that when I see social media panelists at any event. I'm like, why this person? And I have to go do my research because I like to learn from people too. You're never above learning from someone. So what I always tell people that we work with is to find someone who is where you want to be and learn from them. Because if you're asking your friends that are on the same level as you, maybe you're not learning as much as you possibly could be. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kristen, like she said, and my husband and I have been kind of working with a bunch of people on their Instagram accounts lately. It kind of turned into a passion of mine after it was something I did for a living. I built up my Instagram following of close to 250,000. And that was over time. It was not an overnight thing. Anyone who tells you, I can build your Instagram overnight, don't listen to them. It's not going to get you real results. I've been on Instagram since the beginning, since before it was available for Android users and it was only iPhone people. So from day one, I was hashtagging, posting, and built my following organically from doing those things and being consistent. So consistency is what's really going to help you in this industry. If nothing else, just consistently post and you will get some sort of results. And that's basically how I built my following. I came over from MySpace to Facebook. I was one of the top 3 people on MySpace. And so bringing that following from MySpace over to Facebook was pretty easy, but bringing it from Facebook to Instagram has always been the struggle. And I think that's where a lot of people are at right now. I think that's what everyone wants to learn. Like, I know how to do Facebook. What do I do with Instagram? Because they're 2 very different platforms. Facebook is more posting about, friends and family and your lifestyle. And Instagram, I see it more as a photo album. So a lot of professional photography is on there, a lot of beautiful things, eye-catching things that people want to stop and look at, and less text.
I love it. Yes. And that was one thing I was like, and I remember talking to you about this. I'm like, I have so much resistance to Instagram because when I look at the pictures, I'm like, I'm not going to go do, y'all see me right now. This is me. I'm like, I'm not going to go do this pretty perfect picture and this and then you taught me it's not about that. It's about the quality of the picture. So instead of it being grainy or just not good quality, be authentic, be you, and just make sure it's a good quality picture. So, guys, I use my phone. And some of the times I send you pictures and you're like, where did you take this picture? Like on what? And I'm like, my phone. And so just make sure that's one thing. And so then that got me more comfortable. You just saying like, it's just about the picture, not like the perfection of the environment. So I had to get out of my own head, out of my own space. So many of you might have been in that space or still in that space of going, I don't fit in. And then what I have found over the last 3 months is I absolutely fit in. I fit in my way, and we're just rocking it out. So we got a lot of people I know who really they might not even have an Instagram account, or I know my one friend, Debbie, she has an Instagram account, but has like 3 pictures on it, and that's been over a year. So she's like starting from scratch. So, what are some of the things that just starting out, picking your username, how do you do that? And, what's the purpose of, how do they create that purpose of their Instagram?
So I don't want to ramble here because I can tend to do that when it comes to Instagram because I'm so passionate about it. But for beginners, if you don't already have an Instagram, or if you do and you're wondering like, where do you start with your name? That is such a huge thing. And people don't realize it. Like picking a name can be hard on Instagram because a lot of the like simple names, like if your name is Karen Woods, like that might be taken on Instagram. So you might have to do a variation of it. I've done a variation of my name on Instagram. I just put like 2 little X's in front of my name because everything else was taken, but it's still my name, and people can come to my page and remember that my name is Kristen. So if you don't have your name in your username, that's where you need to start, is because that's how people are going to remember you. And so if your name is, I don't know, let's say Thrive with N or something, they don't necessarily know what N means, and they're going to remember you as, hey, what's that Thrive girl? And I don't remember her actual name. And, if you're building these relationships, that's really important, having people remember you by your name. So that's where to start for sure. And then I know a lot of people get super scared about even like posting on Instagram and diving into that world because there is a lot of perfectionism, a lot of editing, a lot of people posing and not being authentic. And a lot of people are scared to jump into that thinking, well, I don't have this beautiful lifestyle that everyone on Instagram seemingly has, but you don't have to. And that's what Natasha was saying. As long as you post things that are authentically you, and it's a good, clear image, because no one wants to be looking at your dark picture of your salad. And it's really going to capture your audience because people are going to stop and be like, oh, that's a really nice picture. So I think that's really important. That's something to just keep in mind, is that no one's perfect. You don't have to edit your pictures or add crazy filters to them. Just make sure if you have any type of iPhone, you're probably going to be taking decent photos. And just make sure that you're in a well-lit environment. And just like with Facebook Live, you don't want to take a selfie or a picture with your family with your dirty dishes in the background or something.
Yeah. One thing I learned with my iPhone, for those of you who have iPhone, if you don't, I'm sorry, I don't know the other phone. I apologize. But I take all of my like selfies and everything in portrait mode, and they have different options there, like contour lighting. Like, I'm serious. Like, it's like a professional picture. And I'm like, wow, that looks really good. So I just use my iPhone for everything. And I love, somebody on stage at GoPro said, put your camera off and step back so it's not like full all selfies, and put the timer on for 10 seconds. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Like, I didn't even think about doing that. So those are just some of my little tips I've learned on this quick journey, 3 months of doing Instagram. So questions people were asking, do we have 1 or 2 profiles? My guess with that is it they're thinking maybe business and then, personal. So what's your take on that?
Sure. So if you have like a corporate business, or like, let's say you have an Etsy store, or something that's not like your network marketing business, I would definitely recommend 2 Instagrams for sure. And the one Instagram being just your business, and then the other one being your personal life. So you keep them very separate and you're not confusing your audience. If you are just an entrepreneur in network marketing, I would suggest just one profile, and obviously a business profile is better. You do have to have a Facebook business page to connect your Instagram business profile to. But the reason why it's good, and I think I might be able to show you guys on here, I'm not sure if anyone will be able to see this, but like for example, with my Instagram, I don't know if you can see that, but you can see a little email. So when people come to your Instagram page, if they want to contact you, but they don't want to DM you because they don't know if it's going to go to your spam and they can't write as much and it's just not as professional, then they can just click your email and contact you about work-related stuff or whatever it is. So it's a really good idea to have that business profile, but I would keep your business and your personal life separate if you have a more corporate structure.
So like, for me, I know what I've decided on knowing my target market and things like that is I have mine blended. It's one, I don't run two, I keep it all blended because, if you're in network marketing, which most of you probably are watching, then your life is all blended. We are like a balanced all day blend of business, family stuff and stuff. So it just worked out best for me that way. And I know we're going to get into some other things here. So the next one I think was what really cleared that up for me on how do I post about family, me, and business was choosing a pattern or the layout. So talk to us about this because this was pretty cool. Like this was fun.
Okay, so a lot of people ask about patterns, and if you don't know like what we're talking about with patterns, I might be able to show you an example here with Natasha's, is that you keep certain things separate and there's a plan to it. So people can, when they come to your Instagram, they can tell that you put time into it and it's something that you care about. But they can also, if they're not interested in seeing quotes, they can look to the left. Or if they're interested in seeing quotes, they're all there on the right. So Natasha's Instagram right there. Pretty cool. She has all her quotes and stuff here. And depending on when she posts, the quotes can be in the middle or on the other side, but they're all together. And there's different patterns. There's that. There's the checkerboard pattern, which is more like here and there, but it's still, you can tell that there's a structure to it and there's a purpose. And so you're not questioning, today do I post a picture of myself or do I post a quote, and then you just wing it. Like you have a schedule, you know, okay, today I need to post this. So not only does it look great, but there's a purpose to it. And then the other thing behind that is with people who are in network marketing, they tend to want to post all product, all sales. And that's one of the first things that we get into with people when we start working with them is you're kind of selling yourself before the product because you want to build those relationships. You don't want to like have a stranger come to your profile and only see what you do for a living. They might not be interested and then they leave. And so you lose that relationship that could bud into something bigger later down the road. So we typically tell clients, like for example, if you're in a health and wellness company, it makes sense that you post photos of yourself with captions about you're at the gym or you're cooking a healthy meal and things like that, because it's really important to show that this is not only a business for you, but it's a lifestyle. So you're not just selling the product, you actually do care about your health and you're promoting your health before you're promoting the product. And it's important for people to see that over you just posting product photos and product sales all the time.
Absolutely. Someone just asked, how many times a day do we post on Instagram? And this answer, I loved, you all. Like I loved it because it's so simple.
Yeah, I just recommend once a day. Obviously, if you're like some like celebrity, like I don't know, Justin Bieber, you can post many times a day and you're not going to annoy people because most of the people who follow people like that are really interested in what's going on in their life. But for the rest of us, myself included, we can tend to annoy our followers if we post too much and all they see is like, geez, Natasha posted 10 times today. So I just recommend once a day, and that can be in the morning when people first wake up and they're like procrastinating getting out of bed and doing work or whatever it is. Everyone tends to pick up their phone first thing in the morning and scroll through Facebook and Instagram. So you can really catch people in the mornings, or you can catch them after they get off work. So anytime after like 5 or 6, just use either one of those 2 time frames to do your one post a day. If you're posting in the middle of the day, you may not get as much engagement and reaction on your posts.
Yes, I noticed that. And because I have a business Instagram profile, you can see your insights on when people are really active on liking your posts and stuff like that. And so mine's 9 a.m. So knowing that, then it's perfect for me to go, well, I need to be posting between, 8:45 and 9 to 9:15 right in there, because that's when my peak is. So that was a really cool insight to see. Somebody else was asking, so we talked about the patterns. And so how would one start a pattern? So if you could give the 101 on that pattern, how that works, just how mine is, the columns.
Sure. So any pattern that you like, or like the columns, like Natasha said, you kind of just look at it, because there's tons out there, and you can even Google them. You could Google like checkerboard Instagram pattern, and you kind of look at it and you dissect it, and you're like, okay, well, this pattern requires me to post a picture, a quote, a picture. And then the next line will be a quote, a picture, a quote. And so it kind of like shows you how to do it when you look at it. But you can also do scheduling programs. Like we use one called Buffer. And when you plan out your posts with Buffer, you can actually preview it. There's a preview mode, and it'll show you, like, once all these post on your Instagram, it'll show you the pattern and what it's going to look like. So if you have one out of place, okay, I can now go move that because this is out of place. And I find that super helpful. Even for me, I've been doing it for a long time, and I can get forgetful and think, okay, today's a quote and it's actually a picture, and then you mess up the whole pattern.
Yes. And I remember you saying, when I'm looking at mine, I don't know if you guys can see that. So whatever's when you're looking at your phone, the right corner, up in the right corner, that's the next one that you want to do if you're in a column format. So right. I like simplicity. So that was what worked well for us. So I know what's in the right is what I need to do next. And everything shifts, because I thought, if I post this, what's going to happen? It's all going to be messed up. And nope, it all just shifts and it looks beautiful. It's so cool. So cool. Okay, so that is awesome. All right, this is a big one. Hashtags, and how do they work?
Hashtags are super fun, but a lot of people overcomplicate it. So to simplify it, let's say Natasha has a family picture in front of her Christmas tree that she wants to post, and she wants to get more people than just her followers to see it. Hashtags are how you do it, because if you just post it and you don't use any hashtags, the only people seeing it are the people that already follow you, so you're not reaching new people. So to simplify it, you think, like, what's relevant to that picture, or what's my target audience? So you pick a few things, like you would hashtag Christmas, hashtag Christmas tree, hashtag family, simple things like that. But then you also throw in there things that are like your target audience. So you want to target like mompreneurs and stay-at-home moms and entrepreneurs and network marketers. So you hashtag things like that as well. And the really fun thing about it is when you get more engagement on your posts, you'll start realizing that hashtags help even more. So the more engagement you already have on your posts, the more you're going to get out of hashtags, because the way they work is, if you were to go search a hashtag, like hashtag family, the first 10 posts that you're going to see in that hashtag are the top ones for that category. So they got the most engagement within an hour period of time. So those posts will stay there for like a day, and you'll keep getting people all day long seeing your posts. So it's really important, no matter what, that you always use hashtags.
I see, and that's something I just learned. was that top 10. I'm like, well, I don't know what that means. You know, you're like, hey, you reached the top 10 in, I think it was family or mompreneur. And I'm like, okay, awesome. What does that mean? And it continued to let people see my posts throughout the day in that hashtag. So that was really cool to understand, guys. I am learning this day by day with you all. So trust me, we got a lot to learn. And another thing that somebody asked was, what is the purpose of spacing out your posts using those dots so like it goes into the next post? And then some people also put the hashtags in the comments. So what is that all about?
Yeah, so the spacing thing. So if you were to look at someone's like Instagram or Facebook post and they didn't put spaces, like how, you know, when you're reading a book, there's spaces between the paragraphs. If you're looking at someone's Instagram and it's like blah, 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 all in one paragraph, you're going to be less attracted to read it or to continue reading it. You might just read the first sentence. So it looks better. And it's also more attractive and gets people to read the whole thing if you space it out. But unfortunately, if you don't use a scheduler like Buffer, you can't just use the enter button as a space. You have to put the little dots because that's just how Instagram works. And it's been that way for a while. Hopefully they change it. That would be amazing. But yeah, you just do the enter button and you do like 1 or 2 dots and that will space it for you. And I just think it's definitely more attractive that way. And it does actually make people read it more. And then with the hashtags, a lot of people ask this, and I've seen it both ways, and there's no wrong way. So hashtags in the comments or directly in the caption. And I prefer in the caption simply because in the comments, you have to do it immediately. So you have to like post the picture and like immediately comment. And sometimes you don't have the hashtags ready, like where you can copy and paste them from your notes, or you don't know what you're going to hashtag, or it takes you a while to get there. Maybe your phone is running slowly. And then if you wait too long to post the hashtags in the comment, you lose that. So nobody is going to see it, that your hashtags basically don't work at that point. So if you want to guarantee that it's going to work and that people will see them, I would do it in the caption in the post.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah. I always wondered that too, because I know I do it in my, caption, and then I see others, very successful Instagrammers putting it in the comments. So they must already have it just in the notes. They know what's going to go over and they throw it in their comments. That makes total sense. Okay. So this is another one that I got kind of caught up on, and I was like, oh my gosh, do I need to have a certain filter? So we see some Instagram pages where it's like they have this like blue like filter, and it's all blue or it's all like plush. And I'm like, I'm so not a plush or blue or red or anything kind of girl. So I didn't know what that meant. So should you use filters on your photos, and like, what is the, I guess, strategy behind that if somebody were to choose that?
So a lot of the people that I see doing the pinks and the blues and the white filters are like travel bloggers, fashion bloggers, makeup people, and their Instagram like flows, and it's very difficult for, I think, even them to keep up with, because sometimes you have to coordinate not only like your outfit but your background. Because if you do something a certain way, like let's say I'm wearing black and there's a black background, that's not going to work with a pink filter on it. So you kind of, it requires more work to do that, and it's not really necessary in my opinion. I actually dislike filters. I know that's crazy, but I've told Natasha this a bunch of times. If she ever sends like a picture and I want to like brighten it, I just use this app on my phone. I have it right here, but it's called Lightroom, and it's basically Adobe. It's like kind of like Adobe Photoshop, but you can adjust what they call the curves, which is the lighting in your photo, and it just brightens it without adding any extra color. And it also, when you use like the filters on Instagram, the ones directly in the Instagram app, sometimes they can pixelate your photo, and it like lowers the quality of your picture. But if you use an app like Lightroom, where you're just playing with the lighting in the picture and not adding color, it doesn't pixelate it, and you don't lose that quality. It actually makes it look even better. So I prefer that personally.
And that's so much easier for me too. Cause like, you know, when I looked at some of this, guys, I don't know if you're like me, but you're like, that looks like a lot of work. And I don't have time for that. And it really isn't, you know, just the more I always think about Instagram, authentically you is all I keep thinking to myself. And so, you know, there's a lot of people on Instagram that relate to me. And so that's who I'm attracting. I'm not worried about anything else, because that I think holds a lot of people up with Instagram on, should I jump in? I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't look like that, and I don't know how to do that. So guys, it's not like that. I am so grateful I asked all the questions and learned it, because it's been a huge tool for my next level growth in my business. So I'm really excited for you guys. Another question here is, what should the ratio between personal and business, like sales posts, should be on your Instagram?
So personally, and this is a lot of people might hate me for this, I almost say no sales posts, because it's better to sell in a different way. So like if you're in a health and wellness company, like I'll say this to Natasha all the time, like you should do a health post, like of you working out, or of you making a healthy dinner with your boys or something like that. Or I know she has a couple pictures on her Instagram of taking her boys to the orchard and they're picking apples, because that's something healthy for kids and that's relatable. And it also raises the question, like, hey, Natasha, like I see that not only are you really healthy, but I'm noticing that you lost a lot of weight lately. And people want to ask, like, what are you doing? Are you doing something different? Is there a supplement you use? And then you get that conversation. So if you're just posting your business all over your Instagram, people don't have to ask you what you do for a living. And sometimes it can annoy people if you do it too much. So if you do it occasionally, it's not terrible, but I almost prefer that people don't directly mention their business on their Instagram anyway, and that they do it in a more indirect way, because it creates conversation and it creates relationships, and it keeps your Instagram you. And then you don't have to worry about going back and deleting posts if you posted something about a sale that no longer exists. And you'll notice that people do tend to stalk your Instagram, and you'll see like, oh crap, people are asking me about this sale that I posted 2 months ago. I forgot to delete that. So then you don't have to worry about that if you just keep it you and more indirect.
And so one thing that I do, because I know a lot of you are network marketers, I use my Insta story for, if like in the morning, if I'm doing a shake or I'm doing this, like that's there for 24 hours. So I use that more of my day-to-day stuff, which is, you know, my products and what I'm doing, and whatever you're doing, it'll work the same way. So I use my Insta story. What do you think about using it that way?
Yes, I think that's perfect. And I think that's more what Insta stories should be used for, of you like mixing up your protein shake or taking your vitamins or whatever it is. And then you don't have to worry about how that looks in your feed, and it disappears in 24 hours. So you're really only reacting with the people who see it right then. And you don't have to worry about spamming people with like constantly posting the same like shake picture all the time or whatever it is. But I think Instagram stories can definitely be utilized for that purpose. And especially, a lot of people don't know this, but if you reach the 10,000 follower mark, it's even better, because you get this feature called swipe up, and you can add a link into your stories and people can swipe up. So if you're promoting a product, let's say it's not even yours, your friend has a company and she sent you t-shirts, and you want people to be able to go to her website, you can post the picture, the video of the shirts in your Instagram story and post the link to buy the shirts, and people can just swipe up and go see them and buy them and whatever it is, which makes life a lot easier on Instagram, because you can't post links in the captions of photos. So I think Instagram stories is definitely where you can do more sales stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. I love, you know, I'm still getting used to Insta stories. Some days I'm really, really good at them. And other days I go, it's 11 o'clock and I haven't done anything on my Instagram stories. So guys, it's something that is, I feel I'm getting it more into a habit of doing it, but it definitely isn't like a habit yet. So don't like beat yourself up, just keep doing it. And I'm starting to have fun. So once you start having fun, that's when things start to get interesting. So we have a question over here. On the hashtags, is there a number, an amount of hashtags we should be using?
Yeah, so Instagram, if you were to Google it, Instagram tells people that you can use up to 30 hashtags. But with a lot of people spamming out there and putting hashtags and, well, pictures in hashtag categories that don't apply to that category, Instagram has kind of cracked down on it. So that 30 rule still applies, but you can get kind of shadow banned if you do use 30 hashtags all the time, especially if they're kind of the same thing. Like I was saying with the Christmas thing, if you're like hashtag Christmas tree, hashtag Christmas day, and you do like all Christmas stuff and you do 30 of it, like you're more likely to get shadow banned, which means that your picture is not actually going to appear under those hashtags, so no one's going to see it. So what I recommend is keep it simple and use around 14 to 16, because that guarantees that it will end up in there. It may not end up in the top 10, but it will end up in the hashtags.
Awesome. How do you utilize highlights in a meaningful way?
Yeah, so highlights are, and I don't have that many on my profile to be honest, but Natasha does. She has some really cute ones actually. So the highlights are these little circles down here for anyone who doesn't know, and it's attached to your Instagram story. So if you post a story and it's like, say, something motivational, you can put it in the motivational category here under your highlights, and it'll stay there forever. So if someone new is coming to your Instagram and they want to learn more about you and see some of your old stories, they can go to your little highlights here. And so I would say the best way is to keep it relevant. So have one for your business, but don't call it Thrive or whatever, say like health and wellness. That way you can add both things in there. So you can add your Thrive stuff, you can add your workout stuff, and it stays relevant. And I would do like your family and things that you do a lot, travel. Keep it relevant to things that you know that you're going to actually use and post in. And I think the most important thing that I think everyone should have in their highlights is my story. If you do nothing else, go live on Instagram or do a whole like cute story with pictures and writing and tell people about yourself, because that stays there and the new people can come and learn about you.
I love that. And one thing, so it was like 15 seconds, like when I wanted to go live on Instagram, it was like 15 seconds. And I'm like, I can't talk that fast. There's just no way I cannot do this. And so I used to use the app Cut Story. But what I realized just the other day, that Instagram is automatically letting you go multiple times. So you don't even need an extra app. It was so awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say that because I liked that you like were looking into apps and stuff. I'm like, oh, she's learning. But at the same time, Instagram is not always like keen on people using third-party apps. And so it may show up differently. And I think the one day when you used the Cut app, it was slightly smaller. And so like where the normal video would like stretch the whole screen, I think the Cut app was like this big. And I was like, Natasha, you're so tiny.
But Instagram brought it, and so it's there now. You can literally hold it down and it does 15-second like scenes for you, so you can just keep talking. It's awesome. It's perfect.
Yeah, you don't even have to pause or like worry about where you left off. It just keeps going, which is amazing.
Yeah, I used to look down at my thumb. I'm like, well, this is really not cool. Like, I'm not looking at my people. I'm looking at my thumb because it's telling me how much more longer I have. It was not good. But now it's all fixed. So I'm really, really excited about that. So here's a question. When you get followers from hashtags, should you follow them back? They've heard both ways.
Yeah, so not necessarily. Everyone does things differently. I know there's a lot of follow for follow hashtags, a lot of follow for follow groups. The reason I personally don't recommend it is because coming from kind of a different world, the influencer world, when a company was hiring me, for doing promotions for their product, they would not only look at my followers, but they would look at how many people I was following. Because if I have 250,000 followers and I'm following 200,000 people, like that makes sense. They're like, oh, well, the only reason you have 250,000 followers is because you're following them. So not necessarily, if you do get someone that follows you and you like their content and you think, hey, maybe we can do something together, a live or something, by all means. But I would not follow like everyone that follows you. I know that a lot of the people that follow people, even from hashtags, are doing the same thing, and they're following and unfollowing. So if you waited a couple days, that person's probably going to unfollow you anyway, even if you do follow them. So then you're left following more people than you have following you. So I don't personally recommend it, but I know everyone does things differently. But I think
absolutely. So one question before we get into the like followers section of our questions is, what are the best apps that you use on creating quotes and planning out your Instagram? We talked about Buffer already, but what are some of your apps for like adding those quotes and stuff?
So I think Canva is a really easy one to learn for everyone. And if you know someone personally who uses Canva and has a template for their quotes, they can actually share that template with you, and you can just change the colors and things like that. But they also have pre-made ones. And it's just really amazing because you can go in there and you're new and you don't know how to make quotes or whatever, you can use one of their templates and it's going to look amazing. It's going to look professional, even if you don't change much about it. And it's super easy. So you just, change the text to make it say what you want it to say and save it. And then that template is in there and you can go back and edit that same one and just keep using it, but with different words. So I personally love Canva. You don't need necessarily a graphic designer out making quotes for you. And it's just super user friendly.
Awesome. Okay, so a lot of people are wondering, how do we get a strong following base? And another question was, they're getting people who are asking them to like, hey, I want to work with you to help grow your thing. So it's like you're buying followers. So give us your feedback for that.
So there's a lot of not necessarily spam things out there, because some of these people are authentic and they're social media people, but that's their job. They go out looking through the hashtags, especially ones like entrepreneur and girl boss and things like that, and they go looking through those people's pictures and profiles, and you'll get hundreds of messages through your time on Instagram of people saying, hey, I can help you build your Instagram, or I do graphic design and I can design your Instagram for you, or whatever it is. And that's something that's optional. If you want to work with someone like that, it may not be spammy. If their Instagram looks like they are a social media person, then they may be. But in terms of like followers and like people saying I can get you followers or I can build your Instagram overnight, that's one of those like kind of sketchy things. And a lot of people don't realize what really goes on behind that and what's really happening. And so if you do a quick Google search of Instagram followers or buy Instagram followers, you can actually buy Instagram followers online for super cheap. You can get thousands for like $10. I think the most I've seen them is like $150, and that gets you like tens of thousands of followers. So there's nothing necessarily wrong with doing that. It's just there's not a purpose behind it, and you always want to have a purpose behind doing anything, any type of social media strategy. The purpose is to eventually sell something or grow your business or your brand recognition. And you can't do that with purchased followers because they're not real. So a lot of people don't understand how that works as well. The followers that you're buying are actually robots. They are accounts that were hacked or taken over by another company. And so they're not real people, those people can't purchase your product. They can't go and like your post. So there's really no purpose. But I will say that there is a strategy sometimes behind buying followers. So if you're close to 10,000 followers, or you have a pretty good base on your Instagram already, and you want that swipe up feature so that you can start marketing to the followers that you already have, and you want it like now. Let's say you have like 8,000 followers. That's pretty good. Go buy a couple thousand followers. You can get that swipe up feature and start marketing to them and sending them to your website and sending them to buy your product. And I think that is beneficial. But if you have 500 followers and somebody's promising to get you to 10,000, I don't think it's worth it. And you can do it super cheap on your own. A lot of these people are jacking up the prices. So for something that you could do it yourself and just go online, do a search, like I said, enter your Instagram name, pay for it, and the followers show up, and it costs you $20 versus $2,000 if you hire a company to do it. Save money. Like, you can do that stuff yourself, but just make sure that there's a reason behind it, because remember that these people are not real. That's the important part.
Yes. And I love that. I love that you address that, because, you know, all of a sudden, like I was seeing stuff like, I could get you 50,000 followers in 2 days. And I'm like, are they real? Like, that's just crazy talk. Like, my Facebook didn't grow like that. And I did that 100% organically. So how's this working over here? So yeah, absolutely. So got a couple questions over here. How do you add pictures to highlights? I always forget and then end up not doing it at all. So going back a couple questions on the highlights. So once it's in your story, how do you get it to your highlights?
Yeah, so that's really simple too. So let's use, I'm logged into my account. So I'll use my account for an example. And if I want to upload a post, so I go to my stories and I uploaded it here, and that's some random quote, but I send it to my story and I share it in my story. And then let's say I forgot to add it to my highlight. It's still posting. You can go back in and you click here at the bottom where it says highlight, and you can add it. And here's my random highlights, but you can add it to one of these, or you can add a new one. And even if you have forgotten to add something and it's already past that time period, you can still add it. So you just click on the plus symbol here, where the highlights are, new, and you can scroll through all your past Instagram stories. So I can even go all the way back to my first one, which was like January of last year, and click on it and click next, and it starts a new highlight for it, or you can add it to an existing highlight. So I think that's really cool that you can see basically any Instagram story that you posted. If you just click new where that little plus symbol is, you can re-add it even if it's past that 24-hour period.
Awesome. So this is a good question. So what is the best app or best way to take a YouTube video as a just a short video, and download it and convert it to save it to your phone and share it to Instagram? So how do you go about getting videos you may have uploaded to YouTube back over to your Instagram?
So there's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of apps out there, probably too many to even name, but you can use an app to do it and then just upload it directly to your Instagram. Usually the apps will download the video and then you save it in your phone and upload it to Instagram. If it's super long, you can't upload it as a post, but you may be able to upload it to your IGTV. That's a whole nother ballgame. But, and then the other way to do it, and I've done this before, if I'm working on my laptop, and I download a video from YouTube to my desktop, I just send it to myself either via email or via Facebook Messenger, and then open it on my phone and post it that way. So I find that way personally super easy because I'm usually on my laptop. But if you're more of a phone person, you can search the App Store for video downloaders or YouTube video downloaders and do it that way, and it'll just save to your photos and you would upload it like you would any other video.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think we covered a lot of things. So just to wrap this up, if somebody is brand new or they're ready to just refresh their entire Instagram, what are, like, say 3 things that they can do today to make that transition and that into a daily habit?
So I would say the 3 most important things, and I'm going to do these like in terms of like what I think is most important, is your name. And we've talked about that, making sure that your Instagram name is somehow your name. So if it's just your first name or your first and last name, or maybe you have to throw your middle initial in there or something to make it a variation of your name, so that you're memorable to people who don't actually know you that may be following you, and they remember who you are. So I think that's most important. And then a good bio is super important. And I typically write those in my notes because Instagram doesn't allow you to do that spacing. So if you want to put like $1 million earner and mompreneur, and those are 2 separate things, you might want to write those in your notes on your phone and copy it into Instagram, because then you can do line by line. So I think your bio is super important to let people know who you are. And then the other thing I would say is having some sort of strategy. If people come to your Instagram and it's all quotes and like 2 pictures, or it's just kind of messy and it doesn't blend well together, they may not stay. It's kind of like, my husband and I were using this analogy. It's like if you have like a dinner party and you don't like clean up your house before you have this dinner party, no one's going to want to stay in, you know, your messy environment. So if you want people to not only come to your Instagram, but to stay and to check back in and see, ooh, I wonder what Natasha's doing lately, it's best to keep it as clean, organized, and have a strategy. Most of the time, like, you don't necessarily have to have a pattern. I think it's beautiful and it flows nicely, but if you at least have some sort of strategy and you're not just constantly posting quotes, I think that's best.
Awesome. And then what I have found is, you know, you keep, like you said, keep Instagram, your profile, your columns and that nice and clean, but then have fun in your Insta stories. Like, just have fun. And that can be life. That can be sweat coming off at a workout. Like, you don't have to look perfect. You can, you know, have a messy kitchen and just like, I got to clean up. Like, that is reality. And that's where I like to show the authenticity of mompreneur and being a mom of boys. So have fun in there.
Yeah, if you're not sure if it's Instagram worthy, like to put in your posts, then just upload it to your stories, because it goes away in 24 hours anyway, so you don't have to worry about how it looks on your profile.
Awesome. Well, I am super grateful for you taking some time out of your day today to share with us some of the things that you've taught me that have really helped significantly. And so I'm grateful for that as well. So guys, if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to ask. And, you know, there's ways to get a hold of Kristen if you want to ask her directly. So, you know, just let us know what you need. And I'm so grateful y'all spent some time, and let's go out and crush Instagram and learn together. Awesome.